All right, let's dive into something that is completely reshaping the world of work in India. We're talking about the four new labor codes, and believe me, this isn't just a small tweak. It's one of the biggest overhauls we've seen in decades, and it's set to affect pretty much every single person with a job in the country. So let's break down what's really changing. Just stop and think about that for a second. What if those basic things we hear about, a formal job letter, some form of social security, a wage you can count on, weren't just for a lucky few, but were actually a right for everybody? Well, that is the massive promise sitting right at the heart of these new reforms. So, what are we really talking about here? Essentially, the government has taken dozens, and I mean dozens, of old, complex, and sometimes overlapping labor laws and has boiled them all down into four simpler codes. You've got one for wages, one for industrial relations, one for social security, and one for occupational safety and health. It's basically a total rewrite of the rulebook. And to really get why this is such a big deal, you have to look at the old way of doing things. It was a complete maze of different laws, some of them nearly 100 years old. All that complexity meant that a huge chunk of the workforce, especially in the unorganized sector, just fell right through the cracks, with almost no real protections. And at the same time, businesses were drowning in confusing paperwork. So, what's the fundamental shift? Well, it's all about moving away from that tangled, limited system to one that's shooting for simplicity, universality, and making more jobs formal. Let's take a look at some of the most critical changes side by side. Now, this might look like a small change on paper, but its impact is absolutely enormous. For the very first time, every single worker, no matter the job, must be given a written appointment letter. Just that one step makes their job official, gives them proof of employment, and brings a level of transparency and security that millions of people have just never had before. And here's another huge one. The safety net is getting way, way bigger. Before, those core social security benefits, like a retirement fund or health insurance, were really only for certain types of employees. Now the plan is to cover everyone. And, this is key, that explicitly includes the millions of gig and platform workers who power so much of our day-to-day economy. And here we go, another absolute game changer. A minimum wage is no longer some privilege for people working in a few specific industries. Under these new codes, it becomes a legal right, a statutory right for every worker in every sector all across the country. This creates a universal floor, a baseline level of financial security for all. Okay, so those are the big picture ideas. But let's bring this down to earth. What does this actually mean for you, for me, for different people and different jobs? Let's break down how this is going to affect various groups, because this is where it gets really personal. A major focus of these new codes is on boosting women's participation in the workforce and, just as importantly, making it safer. The goal here is to knock down some of those old barriers and put up new protections. So it's all about empowerment through opportunity and safety. Women are now allowed to work in all types of businesses, and yes, even on night shifts. But, and this is crucial, only if they consent and proper safety measures are in place. The codes also make gender discrimination illegal and lock in the principle of equal pay for equal work. Plus, grievance committees have to include women, making sure their voices are actually heard. What if you're just starting your career? For young folks just entering the job market, these codes are designed to give them a much more structured and secure foundation right from the get-go. Just imagine getting a formal, official appointment letter for your very first job. That's about to become the new normal. From day one, you have a right to a minimum wage, and it's now mandatory for employers to pay you even when you're on leave. The whole point is to create this protective shield to prevent exploitation and just ensure a fair start for everyone. Okay, so we've mentioned this group a few times, and it's really important we're all on the same page. When we say gig and platform workers, we're talking about the people who are the backbone of the app economy, the person who delivers your food, the driver for your ride, the sellers on online marketplaces. For years, they've kind of been in this gray area with very few protections. And that's exactly why this is so important. For the very first time, these codes are creating a real framework to bring gig workers, platform workers, and others from the unorganized sector into the Social Security system. This is a truly monumental step in recognizing and protecting this massive, modern workforce. And as you can see, the benefits are really tailored to fix specific problems in different areas. For someone on a fixed term contract, it means getting key benefits like gratuity much sooner. For workers in small and medium businesses, it's about getting access to things like Social Security and better facilities for the first time. Even in established sectors like IT, it's about reinforcing financial discipline. The big goal is to level the playing field for everybody, no matter what kind of contract you have. So we've covered wages and contracts, but what about just being safe and healthy at work? The reforms put a huge new emphasis on worker well-being, specifically through new national standards. The focus is really shifting towards preventing problems before they even start. Now I want you to just look at this number on the screen. 40. What could that possibly represent in the world of labor laws? Well, it's a brand new right for millions of workers. And there it is. In a major push for preventative healthcare, employers are now going to be required to provide a free health checkup every single year for all their workers over the age of 40. This is all about fostering a culture of wellness and catching potential health issues early. And the entire safety framework is getting a serious upgrade. The central government will set national safety standards, so there's a consistent baseline everywhere. Every worksite will need a mandatory safety committee that includes workers, giving them a direct say in their own safety. And then you have the really practical stuff, like mandatory training and providing protective gear, all being written into the law to create a safer environment for everyone. So when you put all these different pieces together, the wages, the security, the safety, what's the ultimate goal here? What's the grand vision driving this incredible overhaul? Well, it's really a two-sided coin. On one side, it's about making it way easier for businesses to operate and grow by simplifying all the rules, moving toward one registration, one license, one return. The idea is to cut down on the red tape. The thinking is, if you make it easier for businesses to be compliant, more of them will become formal, and that brings more people into the formal economy. And that brings us right to the other side of the coin. The ultimate vision is to create a kind of positive feedback loop. You get a transparent, secure environment with clear rights for workers, which exists inside a system that's simple enough to encourage businesses to grow, create jobs, and boost the whole economy. So the key takeaways are pretty clear. We're talking about broader rights, expanded Social Security, and a major, major push towards making work formal for everybody. But look, while the framework is now in place, the real story is just getting started. Implementing these massive changes on the ground, well, that's a monumental challenge in itself. And the question we're all left with is a pretty profound one. How will these new codes truly redefine the relationship between millions of Indians and the very nature of their work?